This is NightCap with Dr. Nola Haynes, streaming only on the Persist Network.
Hey, it's Dr. Nola, your favorite political scientist. And tonight on NightCap, I am so excited because we have the amazing Suzanne Lambert, beauty reigns and apparently MAGA's worst nightmare. Comedian and content queen is in the building. So I'm very excited to talk to my girl. And also, she is part of the Persist Network. As you know, NightCap is built for the Persist community, for the Persist women, built by us. All right, so let's get started. Let's get started with some of these issues in the People's Brief. Y'all, it's a lot to get to. So I really went back and forth trying to figure out if I wanted to talk about this whole Jubilee situation because so many people are talking about it. And I didn't really know if I wanted to give it air. But I was like, okay, you know what? I feel like it's important for me to talk about it from the perspective of being an academic, from the perspective of someone who really values the exchange of ideas, from someone who spent way too much time in philosophy classes. So I genuinely love logic and debate. But that is not what Jubilee is, folks. It is not to engage with thought provoking partners on each end. It is typically a progressive and liberal who's trying their damnedest to crack the code, to crack the MAGA code, to offer some level of debate and logic and try to drill down to maybe to come to a consensus, some point of understanding. That is not the assignment of Jubilee, y'all. That is not what it is built for, and that is not how it comes across. Because there's one thing to in debate, right? It's some Socratic exercise. This is entertainment. You have folks on the other side who spew nothing but racism, sexism, and say, well, I can think the way that I want to think. And I think part of the problem is that in this country, we pick and choose which constitutions we want to, which constitutional laws we want to lean into. So freedom of speech is one of those that people lean all the way into, typically the worst people, right? So you're okay with being a racist. Well, I can have political views. That's beyond a political view, right? Being a racist, being a fascist, being a xenophobe, that's a tad beyond a pale, if you ask me. And so when you sit there plop there in your own ideology, in your own opinion, and you are not interested in budging, you are not interested in real debate, I'm just gonna urge folks, stay home. Don't engage with those people. Mehdi Hassan got the clicks for Jubilee that they wanted, honey. That was the perfect pairing of all those people because everybody and their mama is talking about Jubilee. And I don't even watch the damn show. And I'm sitting here talking about it on my show. So that, I just want to urge people who are going on there. Look, if you're going on there because you want the clicks, if you're getting paid, if they're paying you, you want the paycheck, be honest about that. But if you think that you're going on that show to engage with some intelligent debate, that is the assignment. And I just want to see burn cells, sanity, in your piece, because that show is not designed for honest conversation and debate. It just isn't. All right, y'all. So there's so much that's going on in the world. I always have to offer my foreign policy perspective on different things. And one of the things that probably got lost in the news cycle is that France put out a Senegal. France long-term military presence in Senegal, and that was, if I'm not mistaken, in all of West Africa, there are no longer any colonial powers, any colonial presence. So, honey, Senegal said bye-bye. A lot of African countries are pivoting towards self-help. That doesn't mean self-help by the way larger countries and states, right? Self-help in the truest sense of, we don't need y'all, we don't want y'all, we got this. Okay. So, that's going to be a very interesting story unfolding, not just in Senegal, but in all the countries that gave, especially France, that's given France the boot. I would say from about 2022 on, this has been an ongoing theme. Even, we tend to business with countries around the world through a security first lens. And so we had a security cooperation agreement with Niger. And a few years ago, they told us we were basically treating them like the French. Some interesting things that are going to happen there. And apparently, y'all, I don't know if y'all knew this. Hey, strawberry tea. They're on the streets telling everybody, honey, that it was Melania who convinced Trump to do the hard pivot to start sending weapons back to Ukraine. Child, the whole time, y'all thought, oh, Hegseth was the Secretary of Defense and it's really Melania in Manhattan. That story cracks me up. I don't know why, but I can low-key see a level of truth to that. I think that might be something fun to talk to Suzanne Lambert about, see what she got to say about that. And then lastly, y'all, unfortunately, not just in the creative community, not just in the Black community, but I would just say, with our American community, our human community, with Malcolm Jamal Warner. I grew up watching The Cosby Show, just like many kids, and coming from a place like New Orleans in my very Black world, Black excellence wasn't like the exception, that just really was the rule. And so seeing a family like Huxtable, and it's incredible. It was amazing. And you had this cute boy named Theo Huxtable on the show. And I had a crush on Theo Huxtable before I even knew what a crush was. But I just knew that, when I got older, I wanted to marry a Theo Huxtable type. Right. And so we lost him a few days ago, apparently in Costa Rica, where apparently he drowned. His body was found, and it was profound loss, I'm sure, for his family. All of Hollywood has been commenting because his receipts don't just stop at Theo Huxtable. He was a thespian and a creative and a friend to many, and we are going to miss him so much. And it just goes to show that you want to give people their flowers while they are here. We will miss you, Jamal Warner. Okay, with that, I want to transition and bring my good friend and buddy, my brain girl, sister, Suzanne Lambert.
Hi.
Hey,
Coming
how
from
are you?
meat and brains. Hello, doctor. I have my coffee.
Oh, okay. That is wonderful. So we can sip and chat. I am
Yes.
so happy we are doing this because you are literally one of my favorite people. When we met, I felt like we had an instant bond. I think we had a giggle over, you had asked me what I was having for dessert, and I had a French 75 in my hand, and I was like, this.
Yes, and can I tell you, when I went back to that restaurant on Capitol Hill the very next day, the server remembered me, remembered our whole group, and he remembered you specifically, and was like, she was so funny. Tell her to come back anytime. And we were
What?
having a gag. We made quite an impression on that restaurant. I think there were like 8 of us.
We kind of took it over low key.
Yeah, no, we really did. We really did. And it was after spending all day on Capitol Hill.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember just sitting around the table, you're a doctor, right? You're talking about the things you feel type of way.
Kind of like gorgeous, smart girls are like my brand. So
Yes, her.
exactly, like, duh.
Yeah.
I I really talk about brand. I really appreciate yours. Before we get there, I think people would be very interested to hear a little bit about your journey. Like, Lambert becomes Suzanne Lambert.
I mean, honestly, I was a very rambunctious little girl. I've kind of always been the way that I am, with a smart comment and a clap back. And my parents, for the most part, encouraged it. Like they encouraged me sticking up for myself. So sometimes the teacher would call home and say, Suzanne said, I told Suzanne to do this, and she said X, Y, Z. My parents were like, that kind of seems fair. So I can give you an example. I was in Halloween. Who was your confirmation saint? Were you confirmed?
Of course I was. St. Leo the Great, New Orleans, Louisiana, 7th ward, just like the Pope.
Wow. Firstly, I like that you know it, because some Catholics are like, who is my confirmation saint? That was like the biggest
Mine was Rebecca.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. What is she the patron saint of?
I used to know that 500 years ago.
Yeah, I did Joan of Arc.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, kind of like the fighter, right? That's
Yeah,
how I've always seen myself.
That's a low bar,
Right. But I went to Catholic school, and the priest was going around to the classrooms, and he asked, the kids in our class what we were being for Halloween. And, there was a lot of saints and nuns and princesses, whatever, it's Catholic school, right? And I said I was going to be a witch, and for the 5th year in a row, because I love witches and I love witchy things. And he was like, well, I think you should be a princess or an angel. And I was like, no, I want to be a witch. And he goes, well, if I were you, I would be a princess. And I said, no, if you were me, you would be a witch, because that didn't make logical sense in my brain. I'm like, why are you telling me what you would do if you were me, but I'm me and I'm saying this? So he called my parents, and my mom was like, yeah, she's right. And also, she's going to be a witch for Halloween. Like, stop being weird, So anyway, always kind of had that attitude. But I started doing comedy in an official capacity in 2018. I started doing stand-up comedy 2018. Kind of posted a little bit here and there online. But it wasn't really until right around the election that I started doing it consistently. And it started taking off from there. So just this past fall.
Wow. Okay, so this is pretty recent.
Yeah.
When was that big viral moment for you, Suzanne? Like, when was that? Do you remember that moment where you just went kaboom, and you woke up and your life was changed the next day?
Yeah, so it was on my birthday trip right after the election. I was in Maine, and I always tell people, when you get that urge, that creative urge, you have to jump on it immediately. You can't wait. You just have to do it. And I just got this feeling like, okay, I've been thinking about this concept of a Regina George liberal for a while, and I feel like I finally have a talk track of what I want to say, because you also don't want to put things out too early. If the joke or you could be wasting what would be a really good joke, but you have to flesh it out. You have to give it the thought it really deserves. I don't write anything down. I just kind of think of it in my head, and then I'll get that moment where I'm like, okay, I got it. Go. So I told the gentleman I was with to wait in the lobby. I filmed this video in my room in under 10 minutes, right? Just talking about how not all of us are, Miss Rachel liberals. Some of us are Ava Coleman, if you watch Abbott Elementary. Regina George type of liberals.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew it was camp and a little corny, but I also knew that it would hit. You just kind of know sometimes. And I was right. Funny enough, though, it didn't really get major traction until a month or two later. And that's when my Republican makeup video also got a lot of traction, because sometimes it happens a few months after the fact. So those two went viral at the same time. Then Republican makeup became an entire trend on TikTok. But yeah, probably like right around November was where everything kind of changed. And I think that timing is important, right? I know that message would not have resonated prior to the election. People would have told me I was turning people away. They would have told me that I was sabotaging the election, because I don't think there was room for voices like mine and the things that I say coming from someone who looks like me. That wasn't necessarily, people weren't asking for that. And I didn't talk about politics that much on TikTok because I was always nervous of saying the wrong thing. And I wanted to let, the experts do it, and the people who can talk about it more eloquently than I can talk about it. But I've realized, that my voice is valid too. And I can talk about things in a different way. That's also useful.
Absolutely. And that kind of leads me to my next question. One thing I've been noticing, we have quite a number of comedians in Persist. And I was talking to Elizabeth Booker about this a couple weeks ago before I had tech issues and she had to run the whole show. But anyway, so it was a whole thing. And so I'm very curious about this kind of intersection between comedian, political influencer, and commentator. Like, how do you see yourself in that kind of that word jumble? Like, how do you position yourself?
I have been very intentional about calling myself a comedian. Because people will say influencer, and there's nothing wrong with the title influencer at all. But when I think of influencer, I think of someone who's trying to get you to buy something. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get you to believe something. I'm trying to get you to really think about things. I wouldn't say a ton of my content is explicitly persuasive, though, there may be things that I do to overcome some objections. But I think of myself as a comedian, and I think of the distinguishing factor between my content versus a lot of others that are out there is my content is meant to be entertainment first. It's entertainment first. In being informative or informing is a secondary or tertiary goal, but primarily I want to entertain. And that's very purposeful, because we don't really have that on a ton of that on the left, right? When we think about, I'm so sick of hearing this man's name, Joe Rogan, blah, 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 right? On the right, they do a good job of entertaining and talking about other things and then mixing politics in. I think on the left, our focus has primarily been on informing, which is also very valid, and we need that, right? But in addition to that, we also need people like me who, and I view this as one of my goals, I can keep people engaged who aren't super political or who are otherwise apathetic. I also have a lot of moderates and conservatives that follow me. Conservatives think I'm funny. I think they think I'm not talking about them. I think in the same way they think Trump's not talking about them when he talks about how stupid they are. They think I'm not talking about them when I talk about their makeup looking busted or whatever. I'm like, no, girl, I am talking to you. It's you, girl.
It's like, actually,
yeah, right. I'm like, watch it again. But I think I look at myself as someone who can keep people engaged by talking about some of the, what's the word I'm looking for? Like lower level topics that are politically adjacent, right? Like I might make fun of Kristi Noem's hair extensions. There might be some comments in there about why what she's doing with ICE and everything is terrible, but it's purposely meant to give some people something to latch onto so that they can stay engaged, because people are really fatigued, I think. So my goal is to try to keep it fun for the most part.
And I love that. I can read Kant, and then I can also quote Mean Girls and Clueless, and all the other kind of fun movies that are girly and that you just kind of have fun with. And so for a long time, I like saw myself as like a black L in like a lot of ways, especially when I got into Harvard. And I'm like, like it's hard, like that was like my hashtag.
Casual, right? Of course.
But I really appreciate that playfulness. I think that is what you're getting at, because so much of progressive and liberal conversation are so policy heavy. It's so dense, it's so intense, and you feel as if there's little room to be playful and to be funny. And I think that is a level of intelligence too. It's not some kind of like airheaded kind of response to a thing. It's actually having the emotional intelligence to know when people need something different, and what you offer, you give the people something different while also informing them. And I think that that's absolutely brilliant. I want to say one more thing. I love your interviews that you do with one of my favorite humans, Robert Garcia.
Yes, my buddy. He's the best.
He is. And Robert can be a mean girl in like the best way.
Oh, for sure. Robert set the bar for what I thought all of my interviews were going to be like, because he was on there, our first interview, talking about how there's 12 openly gay members of Congress, but there's more that aren't open. And I thought this is how all politicians spoke. I learned quickly that was very uniquely Robert, in the best way.
Absolutely. And I know people out there, they definitely want to, hear you talk about your MAGA trolls, girl, because I'll watch some of your videos sometimes and crack the hell up, especially when you're responding to them. I'm like, my friend is brave, honey. Talk about your MAGA trolls, honey, and how you see them all the way down. And apparently they help pay for your new whip that I saw also on Instagram.
Thank you. She's outside, sitting pretty in my driveway of the house that I paid for. Thank you, MAGA. So here's the thing about them. They are the most boring opponents to have because they're not funny. I want a nemesis. I want a foil. I want that back and forth with someone. None of them can light a candle to me. And I'm not even saying that from like a cocky point of view. It irritates me because they're not funny. First of all, I think to be, so staunchly conservative, there's two things. You're either a grifter, like a Tucker Carlson, or you are you lack a certain level of self-awareness. And if you don't have self-awareness, you can't be funny, because being funny is all about being able to relate to others, being able to relate your reality to other reality, find common threads. If you don't have that self-awareness, you can't be funny. Like, you just can't make jokes. So they're just nasty because they don't know how to do what I do. So I've had oh man, their flops have been really fun to witness. There was this one guy who made probably 20 videos about me, my family members.
Obsessed much?
What's that?
Obsessed much?
Yeah, 100% obsessed. Mm-hmm. Had in his bio that he was the proud owner of Suzanne Lambert, which is so problematic for so many reasons, right? All this stuff. And now, it was, and I had people putting my address on the internet. Like, that's all they know how to do. They don't know how to come back with a funny joke. And mind you, I have never made a joke towards any of them that talked about their bodies, that was racist, that made fun of their education level. Like, I don't have to, right? One, it's obviously wrong, but beyond that, it's not funny. It's not funny to like call someone fat and ugly. Like, it's just, it isn't funny. That's all that they know how to do, though. So there was a lot of them putting, up old pictures of me and in college when I was like heavier. And I'm like, yeah, who didn't get fat in college? I was having the time of my life and I would do it again. Like, whatever, man. I'm talking about what you look like now. Why are you bringing up photos that are like 12 years old? You know what I mean? Like so it's they've cooled off a little bit recently. I mean, I'm sure as I say that one of them is drafting a video as we speak, but I think of them as like petulant, annoying little toddlers. They're a lot of bark, but when it really comes down to it, they all kind of go running scared, you know, deleting all their videos about me. The one guy who made all of those videos about me, now all he does now is TikTok shop videos. And he gets like 10 likes per video, right? Another girl got two girls who made a lot of videos about me got kicked off the platform just for being super, super nasty.
Well, this brings up another important part of this, though, because you mentioned it, but you kept going. There's a security aspect to this. How do you feel in terms of your safety? You know, you don't put your whole life on social media, you know, but you definitely have been getting a lot of attention, you know, so how do you feel about your safety and security?
You know, I don't get to live my life the way that I used to. There's always an element of having my guard up and, you know, posting about places after I've been there versus when I'm at them, which really everyone should do, right? But, you know, for the most part, for the most normal people, it's fine, right? I've been hesitant to advertise when I'm performing just because then people know where I'll be. So sometimes I'll perform and I won't even post about it because I just don't even want to invite the chaos. I had an inauguration day party, kind of like an anti-inauguration day party this year, and I hired 2 armed guards. I was like, I'm not, and people did try to sneak in, and my guards were not having it, but yeah, and what's so crazy to me about it is I'm making jokes about makeup and, you know, I'm not making like just policy decisions. I'm a comedian, and all that it tells me when they have these crazy strong reactions is that it's working. So while I resent that I don't feel as secure, I mean, I'm from Georgia. I protect myself. Do that information what you will. I do know it means that my messaging is effective. But yeah, I mean, it's you know, and I've been pretty upfront about how having differing views is not an okay reason to threaten someone's safety. We shouldn't be doxing people regardless of their views. That's not appropriate. I would never do that to them, and I haven't, and I never would want to. Yeah.
I think, you know, all of that is really sobering because I think there are different layers to this kind of celebrity ecosystem now. You know, like I think that there isn't the traditional celebrity anymore. There are influencers and different type of people who are known, right, and have different audiences. And I am often shocked that I'm just trying to go to like the market and someone will notice me from Roland Martin. It happens all the time in DC. It happens all the time. And there was one scary moment in New York. But to your point, you have to live your life a little differently. You know, you have to think about things differently. Although, you know, in my security brain, there's a level of situational awareness that I already move with. But it's a very interesting new kind of world. It's a very interesting kind of world.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. And for me, it happened very overnight, you know? Like I remember the first time out getting public, when I was out in public getting recognized by people, my friends were like, what is happening? Or it's a reminder that you're kind of always being perceived. It was actually Maxwell Frost told me that AOC told him this. She said, if 3 people go up to you and say hello, double that number, and that's how many people probably saw you but just didn't say anything. Right?
Interesting.
Yeah, she might have even said triple that number. But the other day, I mean, yesterday, All of my selfie lights are going out. This is a travesty. Is my lighting okay?
Yeah, you look great.
Oh,
I mean,
all right.
I did see the little dip, but I mean, you look great.
Yeah. I probably have another. I could go run and get it if it looks too bad. I don't know why these are all dying. Sorry. But yesterday someone tagged me in their Instagram story and was like, I just saw Suzanne Lambert at the airport, but I was too afraid to say hello. And I was like, oh no, because I was like a disheveled kind of mess. Like, and it's a reminder that like, oh, people are looking at me, and it can make you feel a little paranoid. And that when all of that was going on, when they were trolling me, putting my address, I kind of like isolated myself for a little bit. Honestly, I wasn't talking to my friends and family as much. I wasn't going out as much. I was kind of staying inside because I was still making sense of it all. And, you know, I have good friends and family and, you know, mental health support who kind of pulled me out of that. But it's really easy to feel like an animal in a zoo. And then I think about like actual celebrities.
Yes. Can you imagine? I wouldn't even.
I'm a, you know, whoever. Like actual celebrity, a Beyonce or a Taylor Swift. Like I
can't even imagine.
I don't know how they keep it together. It's wild to me.
It is wild. And, you know, I could literally talk to you forever, but, you know, we want to try something new on the show. And we thought you were the perfect person to roll out our new game called One Word.
Yay.
I'm going to give you 3 names, and then I'm going to say a name, and then you say the first thing that pops into your mind. Okay?
Okay.
You probably already know some of the names, but anyway. Okay. Your girl, Christy Nome.
Pufferfish.
I wasn't ready for that.
Girl, put the syringe down. They can dissolve that too. I'll go with you. I have a great injector right here in DC. I will take you with me. We can go together.
Miss Nome, you heard the invitation.
I'm serious. You can use my discount code. Whatever it takes.
Okay, you're next, bestie. What's her name? Catherine Levitt. Is it Catherine? Carolyn Levitt. Yes.
Geriatric husband.
Huh? Excuse me, ma'am? What?
Her husband is 60. Her husband is 60.
I don't know anything about her. I don't keep up with
30 years older than her, and the word on the street is that Matt Gaetz introduced them. He's like genuinely old. Like he's ready for his AARP card.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. And last name, in the honor of the great one, the great B1, Beyonce.
One word. Radiant. That's what comes to. Yeah, just kind of like the sun, the moon, the stars, the planet, the solar system itself.
The solar system, yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like the entire universe,
all the things
and beyond. Yeah, I mean, she's never. I was thinking about this yesterday actually because I was looking at these boots and my friend was like, "Those are so Beyonce," and I was like, "Okay, sold." I did get them. They were impulse purchase. She's never had like a flop era. She's just always been herself and who she is and setting the bar for everything. And even artists I love, like I still love Britney Spears, and Beyonce has talked really, you know, kindly of Britney Spears and how Beyonce is really lucky to have been surrounded by good people she can trust versus Britney. But like, I mean, one could argue Britney's in her flop era and has been for a while, but like, you know, Beyonce never had a shaving her head and knocking the paparazzi's car windows in ever. I kind of wish for her sake she would just go like do something crazy, you know? I think she's earned it. She deserves it. She deserves to like, I don't know. I don't think it's who she
let
is.
Loose.
Yeah, let loose and like talk a little shit. I don't know. I would love to see that.
I think Lemonade was that moment. Like B talked a lot of shit on Lemonade. Like for real, Lemonade. I thought she was gonna hurt somebody.
Yeah, but But it was an artistic masterpiece.
That's true.
Whereas even her, whatever you would call that, like outburst was like a classic, right?
Right, exactly. It was iconic. And her Jean-Paul gown and a baseball bat.
With a baseball bat. Yeah, like even that was perfect and gorgeous and artistic. And I'm like, I would love to just see her like go in a dive bar and like cause a scene with some random person. I just think it'd be really funny.
Oh my goodness. That is
I don't think she goes to dive bars or causes scenes. So
I don't know. She a Houston girl, honey. She talked about it on Cowboy Carter. I don't know. But
I'll keep my eye out.
Huh?
I'll keep my eye out for her.
You'll keep your eye out.
Bars in DC I go to where your feet are sticking on the floor.
Well, we gotta link up and hang out again. I think it's been too long. It's been overdue. And so I look forward to that moment, and we won't broadcast to anyone where we are.
We'll post it after.
Exactly. Well, I have thoroughly enjoyed this, friend. You are amazing. I knew this was going to be a great conversation. I love your energy. I love your intelligence. I love your brand. And I love how you know who you are. And I think that's one of the reasons why you are successful at what you are doing, because you know who you are and you aren't trying to be something for someone else. And that is what I love about you. And keep doing that and keep being that way. Be the authentic you always.
Thank you for being the best. Thank you for being who you are. Gorgeous, brilliant, talented, funny, and also so inviting. You've always been so hospitable and warm towards me, and this can be a really weird space to break into and get to know people. And you've just made that effortless with you, and I really appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you too. And before you get out of here, tell everyone how they can find you on all your social media and all the things.
Yes, I'm on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at It's Suzanne Lambert, and that's ITSSUZANNE Lambert.
Thank you so much. It's Suzanne Lambert. I had a great time, and we will catch up with you again.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.
Talk later.
That's real life. That's what I love about the new media atmosphere. All right, y'all. I knew that was going to be an amazing conversation with my girl, Suzanne Lambert. And I forgot to do a little bit of an ad break. And I want to make sure I run it back. All right, y'all. So you can find NightCap at the Persist Network on Instagram, the Persist Network on Blue Sky, and on Threads. Also our Substack. And then you can find me at Nola Haynes on Substack, Blue Sky, and Instagram.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to Persist on Substack, YouTube, and Instagram.